As the world prepares to emerge from the lockdown, and we, at least some of us, return to our workplace, the question on everyone's mind is whether we would ever return to the good old days, which is actually just 3 months ago. So, as we seek to find answers and solutions in our work without losing momentum of our CSR initiatives, we can surely benefit from getting practical wisdom from our CSR leaders. Today's conversation is brought to you by the National CSR Network as part of our Heal with Hope at NCSRN project, whereby we bring to you inspiring stories of how to look beyond the difficult and unprecedented times we face today and do even more meaningful work that benefits our communities at large. The National CSR Network is an initiative of the Strategic CSR Alliance, comprising of industry professionals to assist companies in India to drive their CSR agenda with measurable impact and facilitate implementation of social and environmental development projects. Today, I have great pleasure in presenting Mr. Vijay Sethi, CIO, CHRO, and Head Corporate Social Responsibility at Hero Motocorp Limited. Rated among India's best CIOs, Mr. Sethi has also been recognized as a CSR thought leader and has won numerous CSR recognitions and awards, including being rated as India's most innovative CSR leader, Outstanding CSR Leadership Award, and has featured in the list of India's 50 most talented CSR leaders and world's top 100 most impactful CSR leaders. He also serves as chairman in institutions such as Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers and CSR and Sustainability Forum of the National CSR Network and is or has been a member of various national forums, including CII's National Committee on IT and ITES, co-chair CII National Committee for CIOs, CII National Committee on Skill Development and Livelihood. Mr. Sethi, we are very glad to have you with us today. The
Thank you,
CSR
Madan. Thank you
vision,
very much.
yeah, the CSR vision for Hero Motocorp is to create a greener, safer, and equitable world. Can you please share the CSR focus areas that helps you to drive this vision?
Sure. Thanks, Madan. Our vision is to have a greener, safer, equitable world, as you rightly said. So, which means that as part of the organization, Hero Motocorp, for those of us who may not be knowing Hero Motocorp, we world's largest two-wheeler organization based out of India, and we have presence in around 40 odd countries globally. So, from a vision perspective, we wanted to focus on few things in CSR. So, greener is about environment. We want to focus on environment. As far as safer is concerned, that's more on road safety. And third is about equitable. Equitable is about working with those sections of society which are kind of underprivileged or some other sections. As we move forward, I'll share with you. So if I look at greener, and if you look from India perspective, the three major areas, while we work on a lot of areas, but three major areas that we work on. First is plantation. So we've been doing tree plantation. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we have planted more than 2 million trees. But it's not just about tree plantation, it's also about ensuring survival of those trees. So our survival rates of those saplings, trees that we planted is more than 90% as we speak. So there's a huge focus that goes on ensuring that the trees survive, the communities are made aware of what is going on, and that entire thing we work on. The second problem that entire world is facing, India is also facing, is water. So we've been focusing on water. We have been working with state governments. We've been working with the renovation of various ponds, rainwater harvesting, a lot of stuff that we are doing from a water perspective. And third, we wanted to focus was on saving electricity, because at the end, if you look at the entire value chain, electricity gets produced somewhere, and by the time it reaches, it's generating some carbon somewhere. So what we did was we did an innovative project from a CSR perspective. We went to around more than 300 villages in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand is a state in India. So in Uttarakhand, in these hilly areas we went, converted all their normal CFL lamps into LED lamps. Also, we taught the ladies and youth in the villages how to assemble that bulb and how to repair that bulb. So it becomes a sustainable thing that if tomorrow these guys can really buy some raw material and create those bulbs on their own, or if somebody's bulb is not right, they can even repair it. So with that, we are saving roughly around 30 million units of electricity every year. So this is 30 millions at the consumption. And if you look at the entire transmission losses that happen in India, the actual at the generation level will be much, much higher than if you look at the carbon footprint of that. Similarly, from a green energy perspective, we've been focusing a lot on putting up solar street lights. So this is both from green energy and also ensuring safety of women and kids, because there are a lot of places where in the streets there is no light, especially in remote parts of Rajasthan. We have gone into, even in Uttarakhand, Haryana, some of the other states who've been implementing all these things. So over there again, more than 20,000 odd street lights we have put in, solar street lights we have put in, which is, so that was from a greener perspective, rather than getting into more details on the greener, but environment is primarily there. Safer is about road safety. Indian roads are the most unsafe roads, or one of the most unsafe roads in the world. So we have roughly around 140,000 deaths per year. And our objective is even if we can save, say, 10 deaths, 20 deaths, it's a huge change that we are making to this country and to those families. So we create a lot of things on ensuring awareness about safe driving. How do you really, while either as a driver or a pedestrian, how can you be safe on the road? So we have various awareness sessions. We also, in various media, be it print, be it electronic, social, all those media, also we run a lot of campaigns on awareness about safe riding. So that's what we have been doing from a road safety perspective. Coming to Equitable, which is perhaps equally close to our heart, we focus on many areas, but let me just say 3 or 4 rather than. So one is we focus a lot on education. So educating people, so starting with the providing basic infrastructure in schools, right up to providing toilets, because in many of these schools, the girls will drop off beyond a particular age because there's no toilets in government schools, to helping them in putting up science labs, all of the infrastructure. So we have been supporting a lot of schools in India. And then also at each of these, looking at what are the results, how the students are they really performing well? And I'm really happy that pass marks, pass percentages, overall maximum marks in each of those schools has gone up. Attendance has gone up. The number of students who are enrolled have gone up. We also run programs for kids who are maybe 4, 5, 6-year-old to run things like tuitions and all. Or for students in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, we run career counseling. We also run a lot other activities from that. So education is a huge focus area. Livelihood is another focus area where we work on various with various youth. So whether it is simple areas like maybe you can get into beauty parlor for ladies, stitching, those kind of things, or even two-wheeler mechanics. So we even run two-wheeler mechanic courses for girls at various locations. So, and of course, boys also. So we run a lot of center of expertise and center of excellence for that. So there's a huge focus that we give on livelihood. Also in this livelihood, we also give focus on livelihood, especially for specially abled people. That's a special focus area in that. So when I speak of specially abled, we also have been supporting a lot of specially abled in giving them limbs, paying for their operations so that they become self-dependent. And also, we have been supporting the para-athletes in the country, because that's another area from a sports perspective. Apart from me supporting a lot of kids in rural sports, but even in para-athletes, we support a lot. So these are the kind of things that we do. We also run a lot of programs for women. So where roughly around 30,000 women were given entrepreneurship trainings, awareness sessions, supporting them in getting the loans and all. And many of them are running their own businesses today. Some of them have joined or restarted their earlier businesses. Some of them joined businesses of other people. So this in itself is also creating a huge amount of livelihood for these ladies. So these are the kind of things that we do from an equitable perspective. So there's a huge focus on equitable, huge focus on safer and greener.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sethi. In fact, it's incredible the kind of the diverse, like focus areas that you're working with. So I'll be very curious to know, and I'm sure that like many of our viewers, in terms of how do you really, like run this entire setup? Because at any one point of time, you must be having so many projects going on in various parts of India. So could you tell us a little bit more about the infrastructure? How do you really manage it? How big a team, for example, that you have, and how have you been really trying to build this ecosystem and this infrastructure along the way?
So there are a few things. I think a big advantage that came to me is that I also run the IT in this organization. I'm the chief information officer. So I've always believed that if you have to run something, you have to number one automate as much as possible. Second, you have to put up processes and a good governance mechanism and a very good, even better monitoring mechanism. And the last piece is that you have to document everything. That's what, as IT people, we are told right from the day one. So you have to document everything and then ensure that that document is stored, documentation is stored in the right fashion. That's how we grew up. So if I look from what I do over here, so all the programs are managed electronically, kind of thing. So I do have a lot of dashboard. There's a huge amount of automation that has been done right from creating a contract to monitoring the contract, to monitoring the payments, all other stuff. So everything is all electronic. Even there are apps on which we monitor the status of projects, status of volunteering. Everything is all. Then the team itself is also very digitally savvy. So if, for example, if I have to now look at that in 2015 on say a 14th of March, what were we doing, why we were doing. So I don't have to ask anybody. I just make some clicks on my laptop and I get all the information with respect to that date. So that's how we manage. As far as the team is concerned, it's a very small team that I have. So at each location, there's just one person who's we have given. But I personally don't think, as far as CSR is concerned, it's about teams. Just because a lot of work is done by NGOs, other partners, and your role is to ensure that how do you manage them? How do you facilitate them? How do you ensure that if there are any bottlenecks that come in the implementation, they are taken care? How do you give them the right objectives as to what you really need out of these projects? How do you ensure that the stakeholders who are the ultimate beneficiaries are really kept in loop? How do you ensure a transparent communication with everyone? So if you take care of all these things, then actually CSR can be run like an IT project. It's as simple as that. That's how I see. The last piece which I personally do is I make it a point to go to most of the locations myself, which is generally on weekends because weekdays one hardly gets any time. So once you do that, then the entire rigor of doing things automatically comes in, the seriousness comes in, and also one can build all the possible relationships with various partners, with various beneficiaries, stakeholders. So I'll go to maybe say orphanage in Jaipur, and the kids over there, I would spend time with, play with those kids, or go to Uttarakhand to plant some trees. So then you really build those relationships with the community. And once you have done that, then you can pick up your phone anytime and ask them as to how is it going. Are you facing any problem? So you get the real pulse on the situation. And the last piece that I do, which is really helping us, is each project is audited by a third party, independent third party. So which would mean that it will give us the real status of what is happening. So while we do our own internal team does monitoring, they do auditing, they put in all their reports. But over and above this, a third-party audit is done for each project, each activity, which gives me a satisfaction as to what is happening. Is what my team saying, is the documentation, is the project progress, is the beneficiary details same as what the auditors are saying? So we transparently share all our documents with those third party, and then they go to each project site, talk to them, and give us a report back. Along with this, they also give us, another thing that we do is getting an SORI of our projects, which is social return on investment. So when we did it last year, which is last year, 18-19, we were, if I remember correctly, we had the highest SORI in the country. So this year, 19-20 SRI reports have already come in for me, which are even better than, because with SRI report, one can also know as to what are the areas where I need to focus on to improve further. So this year's SRI is even better than last year. But at this moment, I won't have the details of all of the companies because of COVID, a lot of annual reports have not been published. So as we move forward, I'm sure that we could be on the top on SRI this year also.
All right. So thanks, Mr. City. I think this gives a very good, understanding of, the infrastructure that you have put up. And in particularly, what I'm also seeing is that one of the challenges that most companies face is how do you really measure your CSR, agenda. And I do believe that, with the social return on investment, you really are not only, performing the various projects, but you're also talking a little bit, you're also monitoring it, you're automating it, you're finding smarter ways of doing things, and more importantly, you're measuring progress, as you drive these projects. So I think that's definitely very inspiring. What I also saw when I heard you speak about, and a very common trend from you, whether you're doing projects in whether it's equitable, whether it's women empowerment, I noticed that there's a very common thread of self-sustainability or empowerment. And I think that's really so important, because much as you would be able to do things as as Mr. Stati or as the NGOs, you'll not really be able to truly have a sustainable development unless you have the people do it. So I'm sure you will have some very
I'll just add one thing over here.
sure.
Sustainability, Madan, you rightly said. So, for women, for example, what we genuinely believe is that two key areas. One is education, and second, mobility. These are the two biggest instruments for empowering women. So, we actually run a project called Ek Pahal, which is kind of a beginning, an initiative. So, where we have set up in various ITIs. ITIs are Industrial Training Institutes, only women ITIs, and in a women university in Haryana, two-wheeler driving skill schools. So we actually teach them how to drive a two-wheeler, and it's all done free. So our objective is, by the time these girls pass out, they know how to drive a two-wheeler. So if they get a job, they can go to that job. So they are getting education. They are also getting mobility. And if any one of them wants to do anything, they are mobile. If nothing else, if they get married, they can take their kids out. They are not dependent on somebody else. So we are focusing from an empowerment and sustainability perspective, both on education and mobility for women empowerment.
That's very good. And just on the same school of thought, I think one of the things you also mentioned is that how you try to get the pulse of the work that you do by speaking and by participating in some of the projects yourself. So that way, I know as a CSR leader, you also are leading from the front, and you're kind of being a role model for the others to follow. So during this time, have you had any interactions or any inspiring stories of how the work that you do has really touched the lives of people? Are there any examples that you'd like to share?
More than hundreds of them. If one gets into it, it will be hours and hours. But
Sure.
one which touched me the most, I think, happened around 2 years or 2.5 years back, and that keeps on playing on my mind in a big way. So we were doing a project in a village. Okay? I'll mask the names and everything. So this was about livelihood for women. So one of these females who was giving some training on computers and something on beauty parlor or whatever. So when I went over there after, and so when the training was going on, I used to go over there. After the training was done, I went over there and handed over. So we have a graduation ceremony after each of these. So we just went over there. Then in the next ceremony, so after 6 months, the next batch is there. So I'm again there. So this lady comes up and she says that I want to come on stage and want to talk. And she says that the impact of program. That before this, my family actually didn't want to talk to me. She used the word that some of them used to beat her. Okay, and now, since she's the highest earning member of the family, she's the most respected member of the family. So while that lady might be 30, 40 years old, whatever, but she was kind of crying and willing to touch everybody's feet, how his entire personal life has changed. A small program from our side, while if I look from my portfolio perspective, it's a very small program, but how each of these is really impacting the life of that individual. So I'll give you one more example. I know, short of time. So last Saturday, so pandemic is going on. So we had a graduation ceremony of another program that we do. So this was on Zoom. So we were running a Zoom. So I was sitting at my home, and all these kids were also at their home. So one of these kids actually started crying over there. This girl, maybe around 19, 20-year-old, whatever that girl is. She said that earlier, and it's on the graduation day. So earlier when I was, it was I think 8 or 9 month program that we do with them on confidence building, speaking, and then she got a job and all that. That till around 9 months back, I was a kind of person who would not even come out of house. My parents would not allow me to come out of house. They were all scared. And now I'm supporting my father, I'm supporting my mother, and everyone in the entire extended family also thinks that I am the most confident person, even more confident than my parents. So that's how lives are changing.
I think these are truly transformational, but and I think it really puts like women and people who are a bit underprivileged into the and just giving them that like additional like confidence to be able to lead their lives. I think these are really inspirational stories. So Mr. Sethi,
if one more I'll
sure, absolutely,
that's
please.
The most equally inspirational. So last year we planted trees and that's one of the most favorite shows. Last year we planted trees in a place in Chennai. So Mahindra World City, I know you have heard of Chennai Mahindra World City. So we went over there, planted some trees. Maybe 2 lakh trees, 200,000. Next year I go and again we plant trees. Earlier this year I went back. So one of these parents comes to me and on this stage brings with him his daughter. The family, the parents, both of them bring their daughter. Daughter is 6 years old, 6 years, mind you, or 5.5 years. And she said that first time when you came in and you gave this speech that we'll have to do this, kids have to take care of plants, they are for life. And I do interact a lot with kids whenever I go over there. So in last 1 year, this girl herself has planted more than 600 trees. This girl has planted. 6-year-old girl. And there was 1,000 people in the hall when this entire story was narrated. So inspirational.
Really, and I think this actually just reminds how the youth of today is being given the right direction in the future, because finally they are the people who are going to be the future citizens of the world. So I think it's important that we involve them right from the start. I think that's really inspirational. So Mr. Sethi, if because given the situation that we have and the fact that we are coming out of the lockdown, are there any like tips or practical piece of wisdom that you'd like to share with your viewers?
See, 4 things. Of course, during this period, we've been working a lot on CSR. So it's not that we stopped. In fact, our work in CSR during the last 3 months has been huge. Only thing is we changed a lot of it from physical went to digital, and then we went into things like providing meals, masks, sanitizers. We started making sanitizers in our factory, ration kits, a lot of the stuff we. So while that was being given, I think two, three things as I feel from your practical tips perspective. This is a time when one can see that the entire world is anxious. So, especially as CSR, especially as every organization, especially as individuals, we need what people need at this time. Many times is not money, but an empathy, because everyone is anxious. Can we really show our empathetic side? Can we show our listening side? Can we just talk to them and just say that, okay, this too shall pass? All of us are in the same boat at the same time. We understand this. In the most unfortunate case, also if something happens, so someone gets infected, how can you really support that person? So that's what we have been. So we have changed our focus. So there are a lot of people who do get infected. You can't help it. It's not those people's fault also. So how can one really support? How can one support their families? Because this is the time, as I said earlier, people are scared. So that's what we need to do. Also, we need to keep in mind that this is a time when we have to build our immunities apart. So we have to focus on our own immunity, focus on our family's immunity, ensure that whatever guidelines are being given either by government or by organizations or by your apartment complexes or by others, they have to be followed at all times. A lot of people tend to be brave in these circumstances. So while they are putting themselves at the risk, reality is they are also putting the entire society in the risk. So we need to be there. So while we may think that in our own there's nobody who is infected, we can't be complacent. This is not the time to be complacent. We need to be extra cautious at all times, but at the same time keep a very positive outlook. One can't get into a negative, depressing kind of outlook as the entire world is falling. There is cure. There are all those things available. There have been a lot of people who are infected who have also come back home, and they are now telling all their stories. So let's show our empathetic side. There are people who need our care. There are people who need our help. So let's give that, and also be positive, thinking that this too shall pass, and try to do something for the society. So while CSR is about corporate social responsibility, I genuinely believe that, especially at these times, even otherwise, beyond CSR, it has to be ISR. So it's individual social responsibility. All of us are part of the society. So as an individual, can I do a small bit to the society? Make a difference just to one person. For that person, the word is that. So this is, if we can do this at this time, I think we would have done more than enough.
Thank you, Mr. Sethi. In fact, your last point, brings to the point of, the case where the boy was, walking along the seashore, and he saw a lot of stranded starfish, and he kept actually, picking up, the starfish and throwing it into the sea. And there is a passerby who comes. There are so many starfish out here. How are you really going to? Do you think that one little boy is going to make a difference? And then he picks up another starfish. He doesn't say anything. He throws it into the sea, and he says it made a difference to that starfish. And
Wonderful.
I think you summed that up very well. So, Mr. Sethi, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your personal
Thank you, Mother.
experiences. I'm inspired, and I'm sure our viewers are as well. And dear viewers, thank you so much for listening to this conversation with Mr. Sethi. We do hope that you find it inspiring and useful as you drive CSR and ISR for yourself. If you would like to share any feedback or any suggestions, or if you would like to know more about the National CSR Network, please do visit our website. Thank you so much and have a lovely day and be safe.